Welcome. My name is Jeremy O'Connell, and I am the main or lead programmer for Connect2SSH. This is a bash utility, bash script, bash application, whatever you want to call it. It's for the bash shell environment, and it is designed to work with SSH and SSHFS. So in the upcoming videos, I'm going to show you how you use this utility. But in this video, I'm going to show you the actual process of installing the system. I'm not going to show you setting it up. That'll be the next video where you actually where we go through and configure it. I just want to get the Connect2SSH command working. Now I'm going to show you two different methods of accomplishing this. I'm going to show you first using a desktop GUI interface. Yes, I know, this is a bash utility, but still a lot of us use Linux or some type of Unix like BSD desktop environment. So I'll be demonstrating that method. And then the second method will be doing it all from the command line. Now the reason for this is the two use cases. There's a lot of us that you're using the Linux desktop or like a BSD desktop, and we need to connect to servers, we need to connect to other Unix hosts or machines. And then there's the other group of us that will share a server, like an authentication server, bunch of system admins, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 30 system admins that log into and authenticate with one server, and then that server is whitelisted to control and connect to a whole bunch of other servers or hosts, nodes. It doesn't have to be servers, anything running SSH. It does not matter. So I'm going to demonstrate again those two different methods. Now, I'll be demonstrating on Ubuntu Mate 1604 LTS, so hat tip to that team. But if you were using a different Linux, and you could very well be, I know there's a lot of Linux distributions out there, and again, BSD variants, other Unix variants. I honestly have not tried this on Mac. But if you're using another environment, it will be similar. But again, I'm going to be demonstrating this using Ubuntu Mate. So let's get to it. First, let me get out of this full screen mode here, and I'm at my downloads folder. Now, my username for this system is developer. So my full path is /home/developer/ and now we have downloads with a capital D. And you can see here I have the Connect2SSH utility program, and we need to install this because if I go to my terminal, let me make this text a little bigger for you guys. You can see here that if I type into Connect2SSH, command not found. I don't know about you, that doesn't work for me. Now, if you're familiar with Linux, some of what I say here, or Unix, could be, you're familiar also with BSDs and Solarises, whatever. Some of this is going to be old hat to you. But I'm going to mention information here and there that, well, it's really for those of us who are new to Linux or trying to learn Linux or BSD and others, but just trying to learn a Unix system. So I do, if you're one of the people who falls into the, I already know this is old hat to me, that's awesome. You can skip to the next video. You probably don't even need this video. But anyway, just bear with me as I discuss this. So a way Unix works, or a Linux system, is that I could type in the full path and run this, or a relative path as long as I can get there from whatever path I'm in. So right now, if I type in my present working directory, I'm in my home developer directory, my home directory. Now I could go run the Connect2SSH by going into the downloads directory, and I could then issue the Connect2SSH. It runs. That's great. But again, if I'm out of this directory and I try and run to Connect2SSH, get command not found. So we need to do something about this. I want to be able to type in Connect2SSH and have it work, have it run, have it load anywhere I am in the system, no matter where I am. Now, one thing you could do, and this is a very advanced technique, is you could go in and edit some, there's a variable called path. And you could edit that path variable either at the system level, or you could edit it at your local level because you have a local user profile. And I could have that set so that when I come into my shell environment, in this case bash, it would include home developer downloads, for example. Yes, I could do that, but then I'm editing system files. And I generally try not to edit system files. I don't know about you, But I try and keep a pretty vanilla system as I can. So I don't want to edit that. So what can we do? Well, what I would suggest you do, and this is going to depend on your use case, if you're the only person on your Unix or Linux-based system, I would just put it in a path that's local to you. Now, in the Ubuntu world, and other Linuxes do similar things, but not all of them, so I'm just speaking right now for demonstrate this on Ubuntu Mate and Ubuntu type systems. In the path statement is going to be a user bin, bin folder, or directory. Really, it's a directory. So anything file-wise we put in our local bin directory will automatically execute. That's awesome, because that means all I have to do is copy it there. So let's do that. Let's go back to downloads, and I'm going to go ahead and copy this file. Now I need to go to my just developer, so I'm home. It's not showing home up here, but we're in home. So if I click here, you can see we're in home. So in home developer, now I need a bin folder. Now that's binary, so bin, not ben like a name of some individuals use. I don't see a bin folder here, do you? No, I don't see one. If I had a bin folder, I could just go ahead and paste it, the Connect2SSH. I don't. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new folder, call it bin. Good. Going to go into it, simply copy my file. Now, if I go back to my terminal, I hit the up arrow because I want to type it. It runs. Yes, awesome. Now, I know what you're probably doing. You're reading the screen and going, but wait, Jeremy, it's not even working, right? Look at this. You're missing items on your system. Well, that's fine, because in the next video, we're going to discuss how you get rid of these. Pretty simple. And if you're familiar with Linux and Unix, you're already going, I know how to handle that. But the point of this video is simply to get the Connect2SSH to run from the command line. Now, let me show you something else. And this is another newbie trick, but you might not be aware of this. I could type in Connect2SSH, and it runs. And my present working directory is home. Great, that works. Or, here's a little shortcut for you. If I type in CONN and hit the tab key, it auto-completes. How's that for efficiency? The system will auto-complete if you're in bash at least. Not all shells do. But the bash environment will auto-complete by hitting tab. Same with a file name. If there's multiple file names or multiple commands, the system can't auto-complete it. Let me show you. If I go CO and type in tab and tab again, the system's now showing me, okay, I don't know. This is what the system's saying. System's saying, Jeremy, you're saying CO, but I don't know what you want me to complete here. So here's a list. Here's my best guesses of what you might want to use. And it's going, oh, look, I can go Connect2SSH. So if I go CON and hit tab twice, it's narrowed it down because obviously I'm now just in the CNs. But if I do double N, the only option here is if you look, there's no CONN to connect. So it just auto-completes that. Little trick there. So that's great. Now, I do want to show you something here. This file should download with the, I'm going to go ahead and show you this at the GUI level. This file should download with the permission of execute set. But let's just take this off for a moment because I want to show you just in case this doesn't work. So now let me try and issue connect. Oh, it won't autocomplete. That's because it's not executable. So let me go ahead and issue that command. Womp, womp, womp. It doesn't work. The reason is because the execute permission is off. If I ls this, well, actually, let me make sure my working path. So we're not in that path, so let's go to bin. And now if I ls this, we will see that the X's are gone. There's no X's anywhere for any user. So, like I said, not going to work. Now, your options are to either use the GUI to set the permission bit, or you can use the chmod command to do a +X to set the permission. So I'll go ahead, since this is the GUI bit of the GUI demonstration, I will go right-click, go to Properties, go to Permissions, set this to allow executing. Well, we're going to allow executing file as a program. Come back here. I'm going to go up one. We see now the X's are set. Clear my screen so I can get a nice one. Connect2SSH, and it's running. So if you get a permissions error, just want you to be sure you know how to understand it, or you know how to handle that. In case you're a newbie, new to Linux, or unsure, you're not going, what? It's supposed to be working. That's how you do it. Now you can do it from the command line as well. which I'll show you in just a moment when we do the command line install. So that's easy. That's simple. There's nothing to it. Now I'll go ahead and get into let me go ahead and just talk about the command line install. So we're going to go ahead, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to back out of here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to issue the remove command because we don't want bin there anymore. Well, didn't need to do all that. Bin's gone. So go ahead and clear this screen. So now if I come back here to developer, you'll see bin is gone. I didn't have to use the trash can that way. I just did an rm-recursive and force it. I usually put in force just in case, so it won't have to ask me, do you want to get rid of this? Do you want to get rid of that? So if you're new to Linux or Unix, that's what I did there. Anyway, we don't have the bin anymore, so I'll go ahead and I'll type in Connect2SSH. Command, nope, doesn't know. It's like no such file directory, just doesn't exist. So let's say that you are trying to install something on the command line. You're going to use this as a server setting. You're not going to have a GUI, lots of people logging in. How do you put this in the command line? So it's pretty similar, but I'm going to ls. I know it's in my download. You still have to know where you put it. Well, it's a working path. Oh, okay, I didn't do cd. That would help. And we do these videos, sometimes you make little minor mistakes. So now if I ls downloads, we'll see the Connect2SSH. So let's simply copy this to the bin directory. So, did you notice something though? Up here, I don't have a bin directory. So if you just come here and you're like, oh, I'm going to copy this, we'll go ahead and we'll copy Connect2SSH, and we're going to put this in .bin, and then we're just going to... What? What do you mean? Oh, we didn't create it. So just want you to be aware that if you see that, you have to create it. So that's a pretty simple... I'll go ahead and clear this. We'll ls. We have no bin, so we're going to do an mkdir for make directory, make dir, whatever. We're going to do bin. I started typing dir there. So now if we ls, we have a bin directory. Works. So now if I go into downloads, we can copy the file. So all we have to do is do cp Connect2SSH. I hit the tab, autocomplete, .. / because we're going up one directory, bin, and then the /. And now our file has been copied. In fact, if we cd to that directory, we will see there's our Connect2SSH. And if I try and run it, well, try and keep things near the top for you guys. You'll see here we get the program to execute. And I know we have some dependencies missing, so we will fix that soon. Don't get too far ahead of me now. So that's that. It's working there now. But let's say that something happened again, funky. The execution bit wasn't there. So I'm going to go ahead and let me clear this. You can see here that we have the, well, it's probably a little easier if I'll do just that file. We have the execution bit. But let's say it didn't get set. So I'm going to go ahead and remove it. And now if we ls this, you'll see we don't have the execution bit. So now if I try and run this, by typing in the name, uh-oh, permission denied, womp, womp, womp. So to fix that, if you're at the command line, you could, well, I think the easiest way is simply do chmod +X to bring, well, here, let me ls this again so that we can keep this on the screen. All works, by the way, too. Often I type all. I just kind of learned that. I know it's an extra L for those of you out there. I know. So we're going to chmod this. We're going to add the +X because if we see no X's for the execution bit, go ahead and type this in. Now if I ls all this, you'll see here we have the execution bit set, plus, well, not plus, but X, and then another one. So I'll clear the screen. If I type in Connect2SSH, works beautifully. So that's how you would set the execution bit if it was not set. And again, I know I can hear some of you, and you listening, you're going, I know how to do that. Just reviewing just in case, because we have a whole wide range of people trying to learn Linux, and then we have those that already know how to use Linux and Unixes. So that's all you have to do. Now, this is only set up for this user. This applies to both methods I just showed you. This will only work for the developer user. So if we go here, you see here that home/developer/user/bin is where this is located. This will only work for me logged in as a developer. Now I can go somewhere else For example, if I ls the whole system, I go to opt, I can clear this, I can be an opt, so you can see here my working path is opt. I can type in connect to SSH, it works, because it's set up to load in Ubuntu, at least in Ubuntu derivatives, it's set up to load from my user, or excuse me, my home / then username, developer, in my case, Ben. But let's say there was another user on this Ubuntu Mate system. Let's say that I have another account or someone else that has programmer account. Not going to work. So you have options. You can install it for that account too. You could put connect to SSH there. So it would be home or /home /programmer /bin if this was a Ubuntu Mate system. So for 2 people, not too bad. It's doable. It's doable. The configuration file or path will be different for each one, each individual. I'll show you that in just a second here, or just a few moments. So that's not too bad if you have 2 people, 3 people maybe. But let's say you start getting into a dozen, even 6 or 7 people. That's annoying. So let me show you another way to do this. So let me first go back to my bin path here. Well, actually, let me go up one. So let me go ahead here and remove this, if I can type correctly. So now this doesn't work. Connect to SSH will fail. It doesn't exist. There's no bin directory there. You have an option. You could install this system-wide. Now, generally the paths that people use will be user local or user local bin. I recommend user local bin, because if we look at user bin, it's pretty long. So just so you know, you manually installed this. If we ls user local bin, there's nothing in there. So that'd be the best way to do it. So let's set that up. Now, you have to do this is root or sudo. If you don't, here's what's going to happen. I'll go ahead into downloads, and I'll try and copy this, connect to SSH, and I'll go user local bin. So I've got my copy command. Uh-oh, permission denied. So if I go do this again with root permission, which is what sudo is doing, it works, although I will have to provide my user password because I'm in the sudoers. Now, if I go up and ls user local bin, it's there. So that's all we have to do, right? Let's try and run it. What? It's not working? What happened? Womp, womp, womp. It failed. So how do we fix that? Well, let's take a look at the permissions on that. Now, we're developer, remember, on this system. So let's do a user local bin lookup. Oh, it's owned by root. So you have some choices there. You could allow everybody to read it, which is what I would do, and which you're going to have to do. You could also allow anyone to change it, which I wouldn't do. So what I would do is simply change this to read all or 755 it. So how do we do that? Well, you're going to have to do this as sudo. So I would just recommend, first of all, just change into that directory. Well, here, I'll show you. Working path, home, developer, downloads. Let's change to that directory. Well, helps if you spell it right. And now if we ls, we've just got this in here. So I'll go ahead here. So you have 2 options. You could do chmod +r, give everyone the read command. Oh, and you see it failed, which I'm glad I did that because you have to run this as sudo. So if you get not permitted, now you will see that everyone can run this. So if I go ahead and try and run this, well, I'm glad it did that because it failed. What I would do is chmod this to 755. So we're using sudo. Now it should autocomplete, and now it runs. So that would be the easiest thing because actually the +r command, just 755 it. It's just easier, and now it runs. I know. It's what happens when you make videos. You don't always, you get ahead of yourself. So that's all we have to do. Now, anywhere I'm in the system, I can execute this, and anyone else can execute this. So where does it store all this? Where's all this information set? Well, because the Connect to SSH is wherever you put it. And I like to, again, know how, or I should say, I like to know how you can get rid of programs in case you want to remove it. So the Connect to SSH is wherever you put it. In this case, it's user local bin, because I just showed you how to do it and make it system-wide. However, the configuration, regardless of where you install it, when a user runs it, it's going to be, Connect to SSH will make a directory in the .config. Well, it makes a directory in the .config directory. So I'll go here to the GUI and show you. So if I go ahead here in Caja and I show hidden directories, Control H, by the way, if you're wondering, you can see here we have a .config directory. If I open this up, then once we are using Connect to SSH, it will create a directory here called Connect to SSH, and there are a few files I have to put in there. The SQLite database. There's a config file you can set up if you want to change where that SQLite directory is going to go, which normally you don't, but, or at least a lot of people aren't going to, I should say, but you can. And then there's a no hangup file that goes in there. So there's only, should be 3, and I don't know, future versions may create another file or 2, but it's not going to get a whole lot. So you would just simply delete the Connect to SSH wherever you've installed the actual file or files. It's like home, user, bin, get rid of that, or user local bin, whatever. And then you would also need to delete in your each individual user the .config Connect to SSH. So again, if you have 10 people using this application, you could delete the application wherever you installed it, say user local bin, but then each of those 10 users will have to go into a .config directory and delete the Connect to SSH. That will be showing up in just a moment. That's all there is to it. It's not that difficult. It takes a lot longer to explain it than actually set it up, if you can see. So I know here, though, when I run this, I get dependency errors. And obviously, if it's installed system-wide, once you solve these dependency errors, it goes away for everybody. So I'm going to go ahead here and use sudo and remove this because I don't want to keep this in here. So now if we ls and I try and run Connect to SSH, it will fail, and I will go back to my user, and then I will set this all back up. So, and see you in the next video where I talk about configuring Connect to SSH and getting rid of those annoying but necessary dependencies.